Now, every time you get a notification on your phone, or you watch a funny video on TikTok, you receive a message, or you get a follower on social media, it triggers that release of dopamine that you would normally get from doing other things like finding food or talking to people. Phone addiction is something that is super common now in modern society. And it's not just young people, but older people as well. So phone addiction is something that affects almost everyone. Phone addiction is also called nomophobia, which means no mobile phone phobia. Next fact. The average person touches their phone 2,617 times a day. 67% of mobile phone owners check their phone even when it doesn't ring or vibrate. The average person spends 4 hours a day on their phone. 50% of people feel uneasy when they leave their phone at home. And over 60% of people aged 18 to 34 admit to being addicted to their phones. So those were some interesting facts. So now let's talk about what causes phone addiction. Well, the addiction starts with a chemical in your brain that you probably already know called dopamine. And most of the apps in your phone are designed to trigger that feeling of dopamine. You probably already know what dopamine is. It's that neurotransmitter chemical in your brain that makes you feel good for your reward system. But it also has a big role in your feelings of motivation. One study even showed that when mice didn't have dopamine in their brains, they wouldn't go and try to find food, and they would actually starve to death even when food was put in front of them. So dopamine is extremely important to motivate us to go and do things that are important for our survival, like going out, socializing, finding food, and doing other things that keeps the human race alive. And every time that dopamine gets released, those pathways in your brain become stronger. And it feels good, so we want to keep doing it. Before we had phones, in order to get this nice feeling of dopamine, we had to go outside, talk to people, get food, maybe go hunting or go and pick plants or vegetables. But now all we need to do is pull out our phones. So the question is, how does this negatively affect our lives? Well, one of the negative effects is it could make you start feeling less excited and happy about life, because those normal things that are supposed to make you feel good, like going out, talking to people, getting food, don't have that same effect anymore. Now, one study with rats showed that when they put the rat in a new exciting environment, it triggered the dopamine in its brain and it felt really excited. It felt happy. But if they gave that same rat dopamine treatment before putting it in this new exciting environment, then it didn't have the same dopamine release. That dopamine treatment is what our phones are doing to us. So when we go outside in an environment or do something exciting that should give us dopamine, it doesn't. So that's one negative part of phone addiction. But another negative part is that it decreases our attention spans. This decrease in our attention spans makes it harder to focus on tasks, especially tasks that take a long time to do. And it also makes it harder to delay gratification. Now, to delay gratification means to wait in order to get the enjoyment from something. For example, if you have to write a script for a video and then edit it and do a whole bunch of things before you can post it and get the views, then it might be harder after using your phone all the time, because with your phone, it gives you instant gratification. But if you have to do something that takes time in order to get the enjoyment from it later, being addicted to your phone will make that a lot harder. And this is especially hard with things that take a few months in order to see the results, like studying English, for example. You need to study English for months, if not years, before you start seeing really good results. And the instant gratification from our phones could make that more difficult to do. But of course, it's really hard to stop using your phone because our brain wants it. It's just how we are designed. So how can we reduce the usage of our phones? Well, it turns out a lot of people are starting to buy dumb phones. And dumb phones are those phones that can't really do much. You can make calls, you can text, but browsing the internet is not convenient. You can't watch videos. So people have found it so hard to control their behavior that they just made it so they cannot do those things even if they wanted to. Because maybe you have tried deleting app, but when it's possible to download it again in 30 seconds, it's just a constant battle that you have to fight with yourself, and it can be difficult. So some people just get a dumb phone where it's not possible to download, and apparently it has been effective. So another thing you can do is turn your phone on grayscale, which means you won't see any colors. Everything is black and white, so the colorful icons won't attract your attention. If you can make it just harder for yourself and less exciting, then that can help. Another thing you can do is put your phone away when you're working. If it's out of sight and out of your reach, it can make it a lot easier to not be addicted to your phone.